Hey all, Andrew Fantasia here. Welcome back to Infinity Rewatch, our dream casting episode, which was too epic in length to be contained by a single podcast, so we have split it up into two. You're about to listen to part two. Here we go. Enjoy.
So we've been talking around it, but let's get down to business. Let's talk about the Fantastic Four. That's what everyone's hoping for. The big announcement that Fantastic Four is coming. And that they've casted. I think that's what everyone wants. They just want to see who's been casted, and then that will buy Marvel time to make the movie. So I'm going to go with the popular theory on this one. I want to see it happen. I've seen the pictures. I've seen the concept art for people doing this. I want to see John Krasinski and Emily Blunt play Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman. I need it. I need it. They both have done work for Disney. Actually, has John Krasinski done work for Disney? I don't think he has. But Emily Blunt has done a ton of work for Disney. I think she'd be great. I think she'd be a great Invisible Woman. And it just makes sense. And if you watch their performance in, was it Quiet Place? I think that we see... this is that Marvel casting formula where we take out some performances from there, and you already have your Fantastic Four right then and there. So I'd love to see that. And then I'm going to throw in my third one already. Now again, Ben Grimm. Oh man. Yeah. So Ben Grimm, aka the Thing. This character is so big. This is a really huge character because this character is very influential in other things. So he has he's got that rock hard look, but he's got that heart of gold, and he's always trying to do poker games with fellow heroes. He's a very community driven character. Yeah. And again, this is one of those performances. I was like, man, I need to see. I need to see a wrestler play this character because the wrestlers offer a lot of good comedic timing. And Ben's kind of that funny character, but yet can be genuine and sincere at the same time. And I had to choose a really fun wrestler, and I had two, and I chose one. I'll tell you the first one I didn't go with. I wanted Paul White originally. Who plays the Big Show.
Okay, hold on. I have to look this gentleman up.
Yeah.
Paul White.
Yeah, I picked Paul White. He plays the Big Show in wrestling. He's a very big dude. He's very tall, very big guy. He has the voice, I think, for the Thing in terms of giving off someone who cares and yet can be intimidating and yet can be
Holy
funny.
Crap, he's huge.
Yeah, he's a big guy. He's like 6'7" or something. He's massive. And that was the thing too. I was like, the reason why I didn't go with him because the Thing is not about size. Because when he's Ben Grimm, he's just a handsome dude. He's just a really genuine looking guy. So, first of all, Marvel, why you chose David Harbour to play the Red Guardian is beyond me, and I can't wait to see the Black Widow to show me why. And maybe it was a timing thing. Maybe you knew you weren't getting the Fantastic Four, but you wanted David Harbour, so you took him. But that would have been my number one choice had he not played Red Guardian to play the Thing. Now, Gemma Chan has had a second chance in MCU. Gemma Chan got both Captain Marvel, and now she's in the Eternals, where she's playing Cersei. So maybe we might get David Harbour back as the Thing and because like the Thing, once he's the Thing, that's it. You don't need to bring this character physically into the movie. It's really just voice acting from there on, or do the Hulk thing and just do CG motion capture. So he's out of the question at this point for me because I'm like, okay, they cast him as Red Guardian. I doubt they're gonna bring him in because again, just because you already see what he looks like as Red Guardian with the mask off and everything. So I doubt they're gonna give me, and he plays like a very long role, I imagine, in Black Widow. So I don't think we're gonna get David Harbour's the Thing. So I chose as a really out of left field. I was like, you know what? I even started writing Paul, and I forgot to update my document. I chose John Cena as Ben Grimm, and I'll tell you why. He was in Blockers, the movie.
Yes.
And if you watch him, he plays a really kind of fun, athletic dad. And a lot of Ben Grimm I saw growing up in both cartoons and comic books and and everything, a lot of media representation of him is he is this confident, sweethearted character. He's a guy who grew up in the slums, but he's a very handsome guy. And he was the only one from the Bronx to get to a point where he can be like an astronaut. So I was like, you know what? I want someone who can be funny, who can be tough, who can be and who can be gentle, all at the same time. And I felt that a wrestler could really convey that. And John Cena has had a lot of movie experience, and he is having the same transformative experience like The Rock is. So naturally, it felt like the right choice to cast John Cena. It's a really out of left field one, guys. Believe me, my fellow comic book fans out there, you guys and gals, you guys, believe me, I really thought long and hard about this, but I really think a wrestler, especially John Cena, if you watch him in Blockers, he just has such good comedic timing.
Yeah, and he's like a perfect dorky dad who just happens to be built like John Cena.
Exactly, right? And I think Ben Grimm can have that and can emulate that same kind of feeling, and kind of like a babysitter. He's a babysitter type character, but he takes care of a lot of heroes and stuff. And again, if you watch the cartoon Avengers of Mightiest Heroes, they do a fantastic job of representing Ben Grimm in that. One of my favorite scenes is he's got this like kind of Jersey accent, well, Bronx, I guess, New York, and they're in the middle of this time war with Kang, and Ben Grimm runs into War Machine, and he's like, I don't know what's going on. And he's like, all of a sudden, all these things started coming in, and he's like, and I wanted to watch the game. And he looks at War Machine, he looks at his armor, and he's like, any chance you could get the score on that thing? Like, it's like that's the kind of attitude I want to see from Ben Grimm, and I think that John Cena will deliver.
Hey, man, everything I have seen John Cena in, I have loved him.
Yeah.
So I am 100% down to see John Cena, no question about it. So it's interesting with Fantastic Four. I think it was a safe bet that this would happen, but we have our first matching actor.
No way. You picked John Cena too?
No, I picked John Krasinski.
Yes.
As Mr. Fantastic. He's probably the member of the Fantastic Four that I know the least about, because he's so downplayed compared to the others. The others have much more colorful personalities. But you're right. There's just that Rick and Morty thing you said is spot on. That is totally perfect for what I would imagine Fantastic being like. And I mean, the John Krasinski thing has just been hammered over and over. And normally that would make me hate it, but I'm like, you know what? Why not? Like, he has proven in A Quiet Place he can do something cool. He's got the chops to do action. He's got the chops to play an intelligent guy like this. And he's likable. And all the things I've seen of Mr. Fantastic, he's not really super likable. He's just sort of either bland, or if you look at the old comics, he's a jerk to his wife. So I'm like, give this guy something to be likable about. And I think John Krasinski, you cast him, that's already taken care of. First job is done. So yeah, goes without saying, John Krasinski, great. But I wanted to try to think outside the box, so I got rid of Emily Blunt.
No.
I got rid of Emily Blunt. How
dare you?
Yeah. Actually, before we get there though, let me touch on Ben Grimm. So we'll hold that thought on Emily for a minute. So Ben Grimm, one of the things I've been wanting to do on my YouTube channel, I don't know if I'll ever get around to doing it, is like a top 10 list of who I think is the best cast characters in comic book movies that we have seen so far, like the best sort of transition from page to screen.
Oh, I'd love to watch that.
And definitely in my top 5 would be Michael Chiklis as the Thing in those first 2 Transformers movies. Like, he was perfect. He was, as far as I'm concerned, that's the Thing. So I had a really tough time trying to top that somehow. Like, how do I go from who I thought was the perfect Thing and then have to recast him as somebody else? So I just tried to get as close to that as possible. So you went outside the box and you had this really cool John Cena thing, and I like that too. But for me, it was just like, what's the closest I can get to Michael Chiklis and still emanate all the values of the Thing that I find really fun? And also keeping in mind who I have as my other Fantastic Four cast members. So he has to play well off of Emily Bett Rickards, because Thing and Human Torch have that bickering, right?
Right.
So I went with, here we go, Payson in the comments. I went back to the well of Breaking Bad, and I went with Mr. Dean Norris. a Breaking Bad fan. He pretty much is Ben Grimm on that show. He's this little stocky cop with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And like I can totally picture him being like, "What's going on over here? Nobody told me nothing." And then again, with this image in my head of Emily Bett Rickards playing Human Torch, and being like, "Look, kid, you're crazy. Sit down. Let me tell you how the world works." And she's like, "Screw off, old man. I'm doing my own thing." Like I can see them playing off each other, having a lot of fun. He just, for me, is like, if I can't have Chickless, I'm going with the next best thing, Diet Chickless, in a sense, which is not a knock against Dean Norris because I think he's great. So I tried to stick close to the old thing just because he's one of my favorite interpretations of a comic book character that movies has ever given us. But with Invisible Woman, it's a bit trickier.
Yeah. If you're not going to choose Emily Blunt, I'm very... I mean, everyone in the world right now, aside from Marvel, because we don't know what they're thinking, has like concretely went with like John Krasinski, Emily Blunt. If you don't do them, no one has come up with anybody else as a suggestion.
Yeah, it was really hard, and I was like, how do I get out of that groove and find something else that works? Because Emily Blunt is fantastic. I love her. She's great. But I was like, who else can play this character? And then I got my answer through one of my favorite TV shows, and I got Miss Evan Rachel Wood from Westworld.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
She, on that show, runs the gamut, man. Like, you wanna see like a master class in acting? Yeah. Watch her through the 3 seasons of that show. She does everything. Anything a character in fiction could need to express or feel, she does.
Yeah.
She can be incredibly innocent and sweet. She can be incredibly dangerous and terrifying. She can be intelligent. She can be deadly. She can be confused. She can be heartbroken. She can be all those things and more. And I think that in terms of just what I've seen of the Fantastic Four, she is the member of the team who is the most, like, it's the hardest to pin down her personality. Mm-hmm. What's Reed? Oh, he's smart and distracted. What's Human Torch? Oh, he's a crazy playboy. What's the Thing? He's a grumpy guy from New York. What's Invisible Woman? She's a lot of things. I can't just stick a label on her. She's different. She's tough. The character she plays, Dolores on Westworld, that is that character. You can't put a label on her and be like, what's her character like? Oh, she's blank, blank, blank. No, she's a bunch of stuff. And that, to me, made her an ideal candidate for Invisible Woman. And I think that there's a lot of juicy performances she can give and bring to the MCU table.
Wow. Oh, man. Did I... Again, I got stuck in that groove, so I got to give you mad kudos, my friend, that you went above and beyond and really hit home. That is beautiful casting. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And, it's funny because immediately when you said her and started talking about her, and then I'm so glad you sent me the image, too. That first season, or that third season of Westworld...
Mm-hmm. Right?
Oh my God, she just stole my heart. Like, just so many scenes where she just dominates. And you know what, though? Invisible Woman is, in my mind, if you were to kind of tack on a personality for her, is just like the mother figure. Like, she is the mother figure that holds everything together. And that personality needs to be conveyed in such a way that she is essentially one of the most powerful heroes because of what she can do. She has to rival mentality wise someone like Reed Richards, and I would love to see that. Just if we're looking for essentially a Rick of Rick and Morty, we are also looking for the mother.
Yes.
Which is the daughter of Rick and Morty, but we need the mother, and I think that another prime example is just that character right there. Just wow, just good, solid. Just wow, just. We're gonna move on. But there you go, Fantastic Four, solid casting choices. Again, San Diego Comic-Con's this Thursday at the time of this recording. Curious to see what we predicted.
Get on that, Feige.
Get on it. I'm sure he's on it. Again, this guy's had nothing but time. Nothing but time. All right, so I'm going to fill in another group member for a popular group we've been seeing in the cosmic world, the Guardians of the Galaxy. They have dominated. They've done such a great job. And James Gunn did such a fantastic approach to these characters. But there's one character that he needs to complete the set, and that's Quasar. Quasar, who has been both a male and a female. I went for the female fan casting because I just feel like the female representation of this character has been way better. The male one was pretty stale, and again, I think that this is one of those cases where, you know, the actor I chose, I love her. Every performance she does, she continues to surprise me. And so her name is Numi Rapace.
Yes.
Yes. She was in the first performance I seen her in is the girl who played with fire, or the girl with the dragon tattoo. Sorry, the girl with the dragon tattoo. And then she did Sherlock Holmes, Game of Shadows. What I loved about Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows was she played a gypsy character. But what blew my mind was every scene she's in, she owns it. You just can't help but watch what she's going to do. And it blows my mind because she does... There's a scene where they're sitting in Paris and they're at like a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, and she's just like eating the food like crazy and just looking at both of them, but like just that attention. And Quasar is a super powerful character that can project quantum energy and make basically just conjure things out of thin air. Quantum energy, and very powerful character. But she plays this character who connects with Adam Warlock, and really gives Adam Warlock humanity, I think is the best way to describe it. So I think that she's a perfect actress, and I really want to see her in the MCU and play a really good character. And I think she would be a great Quasar. That's
wicked, man. Yeah, I love her. She's very intense. She's really powerful. I actually did not know anything about Quasar until I read that book you sent me for my birthday, where there's a picture of her, and I'm like, oh, there's a Guardian named Quasar who we haven't seen in the movie yet. So that's literally where my knowledge of Quasar stops.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of adding new Guardians, obviously. So bring it on. You know, Numi Rapace, bring it on. Anytime. Great pick.
Yep. Love that actress. Beautiful too.
Yeah, she's great. And that was a really cool movie, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. I think it's been made like 9 times now, but that version is the one I saw, and it was really cool. Yeah. Is your mind and body prepared for another crazy one, Ryan?
Well, from this point on, we've hit the Fantastic Four. So for me, we're definitely gonna get crazy on my end because we haven't even talked about the X-Men yet, and that's where I'm going.
Well, I got a little bit weird here, and this is not an X-Men character. In fact, I don't even know what this character would fall under. Not a Spider-Man or X-Men character, maybe Iron Man character. I wanted Mark Hamill somewhere.
Yes!
I just wanted Mark Hamill, and he is known more for his voice acting than for his on-screen acting. As famous as Luke Skywalker is, Mark Hamill's resume of voice acting is far more prolific. So I was like, you know what? Screw you, Logic. Screw you, ILM digital people. You're going to have to figure out a way to make this work. I want Mark Hamill to be the voice of MODOK.
Yeah!
Make it happen.
Oh, man. I'm glad you did that. I do have MODOK as well, actually. So.
Yes!
I did it only because my brother loves MODOK, and that's the only reason. My brother, who one day will be on here, guys, we'll get him on here because he's got some pretty encyclopedic knowledge of Marvel stuff. He's actually one of the only people I know who's probably read more X-Men comics than anyone else. So, yeah, he's a good one. But MODOK, Mark Hamill's such a great character actor. And I mean, his approach to Joker is still talked about today. People still want it today. So yes, hell yes. Let me see a MODOK. Let me see Mark Hamill. I will, however, throw in who I thought would have been a good MODOK, and he played Dwight in The Office. Yeah, okay. And that's Rand Wilson. I think he would play a great MODOK as well, just because he has that nerdy cutthroat tone to him. Mm-hmm. And I think that MODOK, a machine designed only for conquest, I think is MO. Or machine, or is it machine only?
Mental organism designed only for killing.
That's the one. Yes, there we go. But I think that his Dwight character would also be a good blueprint for creating a MODOK. So I think that would be really cool to see.
I just got 6 new messages on Tinder when I dropped that knowledge right now. Now, my MODOK knowledge it only goes so far as that Iron Man cartoon. Mm-hmm. So to me, he's always been an Iron Man villain. I don't know if it's different in the comics or not, but because we're probably not getting Iron Man movies anymore, Ryan, where would you drop MODOK? What movie would you drop him in?
Fantastic Four, for one thing.
Oh, okay.
Second thing I would drop him in is Avengers, because he's also he's the leader of AIM. So I would love to see AIM become a little bit more, get a redeeming shot in the MCU and get better representation. And I think
so you would like AIM to get a better shot, is what you're saying.
Yep.
I see what you're doing.
You see what I did there, yeah. So I would love to see MODOK. Mark Hamill's a great choice, but I agree with you. I think what I loved was, I always was really puzzled about how they were going to continue Zola's story, because Zola is a very weird-looking character in the comics. Yeah. Picture a hazmat suit, his chest is a giant television with MODOK's face, Zola's face on it, and he's got a little camera as his head, so he can move around. And I love how they modernized him. He's a living computer. That was brilliant. Zola was brilliant. MODOK could have been the same living computer, but again, I don't know. I would love to see a man who's literally stapled to this giant computer, and still somewhat have these human features, maybe a bigger head or something. I don't know how Marvel will do it, and I've told my brother the same thing. I'm like, don't get your hopes up, because MODOK is an extremely hard character to make in a movie.
Even in a universe where we have Rocket Raccoon and Galactus, MODOK is weird even by that standard.
Yeah. MODOK is they did have MODOK in the Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes cartoon. That's why he's an Avengers villain as well. But Thor said it best. He's like it's a giant's head in a baby's body. So that's what MODOK is supposed to look like. I'm sure you guys, if you guys are big comic book fans, you've seen what he looks like in game representation. If you're a big video game comic book fan, you've seen him in a lot of video games. He's now going to be in the new Avengers game, which is going to be coming out in September.
It's a sign. He's coming. They're priming us for him.
I wouldn't be surprised, man. Sometimes these subtle undertones, I'm like, oh, I know what you're doing. But yeah, I would love to see MODOK. So bravo to you, sir. So I'm now deep diving into the wonderful world of X-Men. I'm just double checking if I haven't missed anybody yet. Nope, we covered the Fantastic Four. So I am now deep into the X-Men world. So let's start with good old Kitty Pryde. Kitty Pryde was actually a very predominant character in the X-Men world. Basically, Rogue's story in the Bryan Singer's run of X-Men was essentially what Kitty Pryde's story was.
Yeah. And for us 90s kids, that was Jubilee.
Exactly. It was very much Jubilee's story. Yeah. I chose a actress I only discovered recently, and the fun thing about it is she is in New Mutants, which kind of hurts me. They did choose a great character for her to play, but I chose Anya Taylor Joy, who played in Split.
Love her.
Played in Split, and that performance for me, I'm like, that girl needs to be in a comic book movie. Get her in there ASAP. She has, and it's funny because when we grew up in acting class together, a big statement we heard all the time was acting is reacting, And it's one of the best examples I have of this is in the first Avengers movie, Widow sells the Hulk. If it wasn't for Scarlet's performance, Hulk would not be the scary force of nature that he is. Thor does a great job as well. Chris Hemsworth plays some great reactions, especially in Ragnarok. The whole gladiator scene is brilliant. His reactions are priceless. But in my mind, the person who set the tone for the Hulk, and I wish I was a journalist so I can interview her and ask her this question, because I feel like nobody approached that question well, was how did you look at, or how did in your mind did you build the Hulk in your mind and how it felt? Because that scene where she's just like, we'll get through this, we're gonna get you through this, we're gonna be all right, and he transforms and you just see her face of fear, and that is the first time you see her genuinely afraid, because Loki, she played her fear and used that to bait him. This time it's genuine fear, and after the scene happens, they zoom in on her. And Fury's like, oh, we've seen Hawkeye in this place, and she's like she's holding herself like a child, and she's just like, this is Widow here, I'll go get him, and like,
that's such a great point, man. Oh my god.
So Anya does a great job in Split because she tries to connect with this character who has these multiple personalities. And I'm not a fan of horror films or thriller films, but this is a thriller film where I was fascinated by her reaction to this crazy character. And again, I think as Kitty Pryde, that's that same reaction I wanted to see in the world of X-Men, because you need that scale. Because what the X-Men can do, or what happens to the X-Men, is pretty intense. Like, Avengers are like essentially gods facing god-level threats, but X-Men is just that next step down. Like, they're facing some pretty crazy threats, like reality-changing threats. Magneto can manipulate magnetism. Like, that's crazy, right? So someone to represent that perspective, we needed Kitty Pryde, Anya Taylor Joy. I would have loved to have seen her done it.
That's great, man. And that's a wonderful way to approach the casting, too. She does the exact same kind of thing, selling the horror, in The Witch, one of my favorite horror movies I've ever seen. She takes that concept of just being a pilgrim in the Puritan era, and just through facial expressions, reacting to what's going on, she sells that, oh my God, there's a witch in the woods, and she's doing nasty shit to this family. And damn, does it ever work. I love Anya Taylor Joy. She's really cool. I think she'd be a great Kitty Pryde. Good call. Very good call. I don't have Kitty Pryde, though, so that's not a character that we have in common. And I actually have a couple more before we get into the X-Men for me.
Okay.
I still have a couple non-X-Men characters here. So I had Ghost Rider earlier, and I don't think you can have Ghost Rider without having Mephisto, Lord of Darkness.
Of course.
Right. And sorry, early 2000s, but black trench coats do not count as a villain costume.
I love it. Yeah, it's so true.
Don't get me started on the costume design for Ghost Rider and X-Men Origins Wolverine, because that's a whole other show. But I want not only the costume, I want the hair, I want everything. So I went out on a limb here, and just like with Human Torch, I gender swapped Mephisto. Mephisto's a lady now, and not just any lady, Ryan. Mephisto is the one, the only, Helena Bonham Carter. Bam!
Helena Bonham? Who is that?
Check your chat right now. I just showed you.
Oh, yeah. And the picture sells it, too. Oh, my God. Hope you use that picture at the post for
I will.
Oh, that is good. That is good.
She's already got the hair. It's the same kind of deal. Like before, I forget who I was talking about. Oh yeah, with your Craven. It's like you don't have to put her in the makeup chair at all. You just dye her hair red, and that's it. She's good to go. Get her in a red suit, and she is so cool at being. She can toy with people. Like she did a really cool thing with the fairy godmother in Cinderella.
Oh, yes, yeah.
And that's kind of like the devil. She just shows up and she's like, I'll give you what you want. You take that, and it's just flipped on its head, where now it's like, I'll give you what you want, asterisk. I think that she can do that so well. Picturing her playing off of Oscar Isaac, yes, please. And, throw in a big, elaborate red costume.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way in hell this won't work.
I'm gonna chime in here because I love it. I love this casting. I think this is brilliant. I think she can do some really creative character work, and especially I think of Alice in Wonderland approach here with the Queen of Hearts. What I think with characters like Mephisto is the same way I think about it with the Ancient One and the casting of Tilda Swinton for the Ancient One. Is that these characters are gender ambiguous here. Like they don't have a gender. In fact, the Ancient One in this very comic that connects the two characters is Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange: Triumph and Torment. It's probably one of the biggest and best comic books of those two characters being in the same comic series together. I think Mephisto is, again, Mephisto's a creature. It's not really a person. It's a manifestation here, right? So I would love to see. I think this is right. I think I would love to see this actress play this character because, again, I don't think this character has a gender. I think this character needs to be a twisted form of evil. And this actress has worked in the vision of Tim Burton. So if I were to have an actress like that, I mean, she would give me more than enough to work with and really play off of and just have fun with, like this character that essentially makes these ridiculous deals. Doctor Doom and Doctor Strange try to screw over Mephisto, and Doctor Strange went in with the intention not to screw over Mephisto, and it leads to a really great story. So really well done. Bravo casting choice, my friend. I couldn't agree with you more on that. So good choice. But I agree that I think it's not a matter of like we need to change it to a female cat. Like we need to change it to a female character. We just need an actor or actress to play this character, and that's the kind of the mentality it should be. Because there's a scene with the Ancient One in the Triumph and Torment comic where it's like where someone says like, "Hey man," or like, you should like, "Oh, the Ancient One, he's busy," or something like that. Like someone makes a reference to the Ancient One. And Ancient One goes out and says, "Oh, I'm not a man or a woman." Like, just flat out just denies everything and just, like, leads to that moment. Yeah. So, epic stuff. Great casting choice. So, for me, going into the X-Men now, I'm well deep into the X-Men at this point. It's just so many. Yeah. Oh, my God. Oh, boy. Okay, so I'm going to get to Magneto and Xavier at the end because I really thought long and hard about it. Let's start with Gambit. Now, Gambit, there was an announcement a long time ago by Fox that we were going to get a Gambit movie. And this was the time that Fantasia and I were going to school. So this conversation happened. This was a legit conversation. I stand by it today. Now, I think that the Channing Tatum would have been an okay choice. I would have needed to be convinced as a comic book fan because the voice actor who played Gambit in the 90s cartoon set such a tone for how Gambit should sound and feel that it's hard to not see that voice or that tone in that character. Yeah. So I went with Josh Holloway from Lost.
Oh, yes.
And we talked about this a lot because when they announced they were doing a Gambit movie, they originally had Tyler Kitsch play him in Wolverine's Origins. And it's not that guy's fault. That guy's a great actor. But for some reason, I have no idea why.
The reason is the wardrobe department, Ryan.
It's not even. I accepted his look in Wolverine's Origins. What I don't accept is the writing. I have to blame the writers or director. I don't know who was responsible, but Tyler Kitsch is a good actor. He's a fantastic actor. In True Detective season 2, great character. he did a great job. His scenes were terrible. Like, it just didn't connect. It was very dry. And it just, oh man, I don't know if it's I don't even know if it's not even the writing and directing or if it's because chemistry with other characters. I don't know what it is, Tyler. I don't know if it's your fault or not. I think you're a great actor. I don't know. It's that chemistry is missing. And so I feel Josh Holloway, though. I've seen that kid in Lost. He plays this thief with a very questionable moral compass. And that's Gambit. That is Gambit to the letter. And that's the kind of Gambit I want to see. And he had the look. He has the long hair. You could easily give him the trench coat. You could give him the staff, the playing with the cards. That dude just screams Gambit. And I don't know why. It's not even like talked about. Because that dude deserves to be Gambit. Even in Mission Impossible, he has the swagger of Gambit. And it's so good. And we talked about this years ago.
I don't know if you remember, but when we were going to Humber together, I actually wrote an email to Wizard Magazine back when I was subscribing to them then. And in that email, I had like a couple questions, and one of them was, "Hey, I heard a rumor Josh Holloway might play Gambit. What do you guys think of this?" And they actually printed my question.
No way!
In the letters page, there's like a big picture of Josh Holloway on Lost saying like, is he going to play Gambit? And like they answered my question and stuff. You're right. I absolutely remember us talking about that back in the day. I don't know how he's aged, because that was like over a decade ago. I don't know what he looks like now, if he's changed his whole attitude, but at least 2007 Josh Holloway, that's Gambit, baby.
Is Gambit. Like, his performance in Lost is Gambit. Like, it's so good. But yeah, so that's one of my casting. And my X-Men, I'm pretty happy with my casting. I would really kill to see it. It's really good. Anyway, sorry, sir. The floor is yours.
No, nothing to be sorry about. I love that, Josh Holloway. That is great. Okay, so I have here, I'm going to finish up my non-X-Men people. Okay. And then I'm going to go into my X-Men last, because I think they're my favorite.
How many non-X-Men do you have?
I have 2 non-X-Men's and then 3 X-Men's.
Okay, so finish your 2, and then we'll just jump right into X-Men.
All right. So, first of all, I was like, all right, Fantastic Four, great, love them. I had Galactus. I gotta have the Surfer.
Oh, of course.
I gotta get some Silver Surfer up in here.
Yeah. That was dangerous for me. I couldn't make a guess. Aside from, I've heard crazy rumors that Bale is going to be Silver Surfer, but I'm curious to hear if you went with Bale or if you went with somebody else.
Wait, with who? Who's Bale?
Christian Bale.
Oh, Christian Bale. Oh, wow. Okay, Thor: Love and Thunder. That's interesting. No, I did not go with Christian Bale at all. I kind of stuck with similar voice casting and body casting as the old Fantastic Four movies, like I did with Thing, because I think that the Lawrence Fishburne voice mixed with the Doug Jones body was a cool combo for the Silver Surfer they gave us. But I was like, I know a guy who can do both. And so it is my pleasure to introduce you to who I think would be a great Silver Surfer, Mr. Lance Reddick.
Of course.
Right.
Of course. I know who that is already. Oh my, you don't even need to send me a photo. Just give him the role. Just give him the role.
Yeah, he's got it all. He's got it all. And the thing about Lance Reddick that I wish more casting directors realized is, yes, he's very scary and has a commanding presence and intense, and his voice is deep and booming, but he is astoundingly funny. Like, this guy can do comedy like nobody's business. And he jokes about that. He's like, I got this role in The Wire where I was scary and intense and I kind of got typecast. He's like, but I love being funny. I love making jokes. So I would love to get a lot of comedy with Surfer coming to Earth and, dealing with Earth and stuff. And I think he can play that really well. We didn't see that with the old movie Silver Surfer. So there's a perfect way to do what Marvel does best, is give us these characters we've seen before, but in ways we haven't seen them. So you've got the body of Surfer, you got the voice of Surfer, and now you got a guy who can be funny as Surfer. Triple threat.
I love it. I love it, and I have to say, like, You know what? I've been watching The Wire, so yes, he plays a character named Cedric Daniels. He does a great job. He does have some humor in that role, not a lot, but he does have that intensity. The humor of Silver Surfer comes from both the naive side of him, when he's trying to understand humans, that his observation. So that curiosity is a fun way because he just doesn't know how things work, and when he starts to experience things. Yeah. And also, his humor is his curiosity and his understanding. So I would love to see that. I think again, I would love to see that. He definitely has the build and the voice. Stan Lee always talked about Silver Surfer was his perception of the world. And I think that's a beautiful way to do it. Very hard character to do, and I don't know a lot of other characters who could emulate the same approach that he would. So agree with you on that. Absolutely. All right, hit me with the next one.
All right, so my last non-X-Man, if I'm looking at this right. Let's see here. Yeah, this is my last non-X-Man. Let's talk about Spider-Woman.
Oh, yes, Jessica Drew. Give me that, Jessica Drew.
I struggled with this one for a bit because there was... it wasn't a case with other characters. I was like, I can't think of anybody. With Jessica Drew, I was like, I can think of too many people. So I don't know, maybe this is taking the easy way out, but I went with somebody who has a past delivering a powerful, show-stealing performance in a big, epic franchise. Mm-hmm. I went with Hermione Granger, Emma Watson.
Oh, of course. Of course.
I think Jessica Drew is British, too, if I'm not mistaken, so that helped inform the decision. But I think that it's high time. I mean, nobody, whether you liked or hated those movies, nobody walked out of Harry Potter saying Hermione sucked in those movies. Everybody thought Hermione kicked ass. Emma Watson is just that talented. She's great. And frankly, her talent is being wasted in shit like the Beauty and the Beast, okay? So we got to get that girl back in the swing of things. We got to get her doing the stuff that, made her career, because she's so flippin' good at doing it. She's a web-slinging superhero. That is... I mean, I can't picture any greater way to, and we've seen actors do this before, where it's like they were famous for being in these big blockbusters, and then they stopped for a while, and then they came back, like Jim Carrey, So I think the same thing we can do with Emma Watson. Like we've had so long now where she hasn't really done these big things. Let's get her back in the swing of things, and this is a perfect place to put her.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. It's a good choice. It's a good choice. I can't think of someone better yet. I don't know if I'm 100% convinced, but I can't.
Yeah, she's got to show us in the role. She's got to make us fall in love with that version of Jessica Drew.
I would need to see, like, if they were to say, if Marvel was to come out and say, like, look, we casted Emma Watson, she's going to play Spider-Woman, I'd need to see the first trailer to be convinced. Yeah, it would have to be a really good trailer, because this character has. Kind of like if you watch the show The Boys, this character is kind of like Starlight, where she comes in with such superhero innocence. And if you haven't seen The Boys, definitely recommend it. Great show on Amazon. And The Boys is the superhero. It's kind of like if superheroes were real, what would they really be like? And it's this like corporate, money grabbing superhero corporation that has these superheroes that do good for the world, and it's kind of like the Justice League. But one character is Starlight, and she's like this new hero that eventually gets onto this massive team, similar to like getting onto the Avengers for Jessica Drew. But then she finds out that she's been tested and brainwashed by Hydra, and there's like this whole story to her that makes her like a really twisted character, and she has this pheromones power that guys can't really control themselves around her. So there's kind of this fun, interesting depth of story you can play around with for her, but I just don't feel Emma Watson quite grasping that. Don't know. I don't know. I think I would like to see some more options, but she has the potential to convince me. I'll leave it at that.
She's gonna wave her magic wand, and she's gonna convince you.
All right, so let's jump into it for me. Let's get into the X-Men. I'm gonna say that Cyclops has been an interesting character for me. Mm-hmm. In the 90s cartoon, I loved and hated him. Because everyone does the same jokes, Everyone's like, all he cares about is Jean, and that's it. And young me was like, that is such blah. Like, that makes, like, I actually was like, I don't like the character because of that. But wrong. I love the character because of that. And when you love someone that much and you're obsessed with that person that much, yes, it makes for an interesting character. So I needed someone to play a really good Cyclops. And now I started watching a cartoon that's Wolverine and the X-Men, came out around 2009-ish. And everyone was expecting the 90s X-Men cartoon. They didn't quite get it. But if you watch it and watch the story, it's actually produced by Kevin Feige. So it's really, really good. And what's funny is about it, there's a scene with Wolverine and Cyclops, and Wolverine is trying to bring the X-Men back together, and he finds Cyclops in this really abandoned apartment and just sitting there staring at a television. He's got a beard and he's got the glasses on and just like totally run down, just like doesn't care about anything. And Wolverine calls him out. He's like, so we lose Jean and you stop caring about the world, and just calls him out on it. And it's probably one of my favorite scenes. It's so good. And then Cyclops obviously blasts him out of the building. So I'm like, I need someone who just like is a really sour person, but when Jean's around, just loves her so much and just represents leadership so well. And how do you play someone that can be this broken man, but yet be a leader at the same time? And the person I casted for it, he was the lead in Altered Carbon Season 1, and also was Rick Flag in Suicide Squad. And that is where you get your Cyclops. You get those two characters, put them together, and the casting choice I chose for Cyclops was none other than Joel Kinnaman.
Joel Kinnaman, yeah, man, I like that. I remember with Joel Kinnaman, the first thing I saw him in was the new RoboCop.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was like, no, thank you. Next thing I saw him in was Suicide Squad. And I was like, okay, I like this guy now. I like his relationship with Will Smith, how they had like a bromance throughout the whole plot. And then I saw him in Altered Carbon, and I was like, oh, I hate this guy again. But I think that the Cyclops aspect of it is that greatness that he showed us with Suicide Squad. So absolutely, yeah, there is definitely a place there for a guy who's he's all about his relationships, and when they fall apart, so does he.
But you said it best yourself. You love and hate him. You love and hate him, and that's what Cyclops is as a character. You love to hate him, and so but yet a character that can convey such leadership, I think Joel does a great job of, and you see it in Suicide Squad a lot. And I think, and X-Men's leading a bunch of misfits, and Suicide Squad he did the exact same thing. But I just think he has the look and build for Cyclops as well. So definitely would love to see that. All right. Did you have Cyclops on your list?
I did not have Cyclops on my list.
Ooh.
No, I have 3 more people on my list, all of them X-Men characters, but no Cyclops. How many more do you have on your list?
I think I got like 5 more.
5 more? Okay, give me another one.
So couldn't cast Cyclops without Jean Grey.
Yeah.
And I felt that this actress was robbed of a chance to be a good character in the world of MCU, because she also voiced her obsession to play a character in MCU, and after seeing, I think it's called Molly's Game, I had to see her in an MCU role, and yeah, she didn't get Captain Marvel, and that's who she was fighting for. But I would like to see, and I believe her name is Jessica Chastain, I would love to see her as Jean Grey. I think, and playing off of Joel is perfect. I think it's just such a casting match made in heaven that I would love to see. And they just have such a comic book look and feel. Oh my God, I love it.
Oh, Jessica Chastain's awesome. She's like a AAA actor. She's cream of the crop. And it's interesting because she was the villain in Dark Phoenix. So it's kind of like she's taken the mantle of Miss Grey for her very own. I like this. I'll never say no to Jessica Chastain.
I did love the Jean Grey they chose for Age of Apocalypse, whose name also, man, I'm terrible with names.
Sophie Turner.
Yeah, Sophie Turner. Yeah, she did great, but I think Jean Grey. I agree with Christopher Claremont, who wrote the original Phoenix Saga. The problem with the Phoenix Saga is everyone tries to do it in like one movie, and you need one trilogy to do like the good side of her, and then one trilogy to do the bad. And also I think that character demands a lot. It demands such crazy perspective. And Jessica in Molly's Game is such a transformative character, and the way she interacts with people, and also just her roles, the different roles she's played. I think that she would be my choice. Sophie, you did a great job. You'll look like the character. But I think because you got your chance, got the spotlight, I think I want to see a new person player in the MCU world, and I think Jessica has the chops I want for good old Jean Grey.
Oh, that's a great pick, man. I don't even think I considered Jean Grey for my list because I was just like, I have no idea where to start, because she's so complicated, and I don't know enough about the Dark Phoenix saga to make that educated guess like that. I don't remember how it was handled in the cartoon, and both times the movies did it, they obviously butchered it. Hi, Anthony.
I love what she did there. She actually leaned in with the Deadpool comic. That was really, woo, that's love.
Your
right
fiance
there.
is badass. Your fiance is a badass. I don't. I didn't even know how to start with Jean Grey, so I didn't even bother touching her. But that is great. Jessica Chastain, always a pleasure. And I think like you said, Claremont is talking about how you need plenty of movies to do the Dark Phoenix saga. Guess who has plenty of movies? The MCU.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'll happen. I think it will happen. All right, so if you give me one more of yours, then I think we'll have the same amount after that. We'll be even.
Well, okay. See, now I feel like you set me up because in the 90s cartoon and also in the comics, the love triangle between Cyclops, Jean Grey, and Wolverine, and it was done very well in Bryan Singer's version. It was done very well there as well. I needed a Wolverine that captures the same tone and feel as the 90s cartoon, because again...
Wow, you tackled Wolverine. I'm so impressed.
I had to. And what made that Wolverine so iconic, and the voice actor who played him, amazing job. Again, I wouldn't have thought of that Wolverine at like tone and feel. And if you watch the 80s version of the X-Men, the pilot, they chose like an Australian sounding guy, which again, a Crocodile Dundee Wolverine's not a bad idea, but not what we're going for.
Which is pretty ironic considering who they ended up casting as Wolverine when the movies came out. They cast an Aussie.
They casted an Aussie. I didn't even think about that, but yeah, it's true. Now here's the cool thing. So I was like, okay, you need a Wolverine that needs to play with a lot of different characters, because Wolverine jumps from group to group a lot. I mean, he's been in Alpha Flight, he's been an Avenger, he's been all over the board. So I was like, okay, how did the voice actor do Wolverine in the cartoon? So I did some research, and the primary source that created the Wolverine we know and love was the voice actor said he based it off of Clint Eastwood, that kind of like good and bad, ugly kind of voice and tone. Like he even does the I know what you're thinking. Is Wolverine gonna cut me with those claws? Like a very kind of Clint Eastwood tone and feel. So I thought, why not? Who better than to cast Wolverine than not Clint Eastwood? But what about his son, Scott Eastwood? I think, might as well get the actual blood relative of the guy whose voice inspired the original Wolverine in the 90s. So I chose Scott Eastwood as my Wolverine.
That is great, man. Yeah, I like that. See, that's another character who is just, I didn't know where to start. I was like, I'm not touching Wolverine with a 10-foot pole.
It's a tall order. Order. He was in Suicide Squad as well. If you wanted to see his performance in there, he's kind of the soldier buddy of Joel Kinnaman, and he was also in Pacific Rim Uprising. So I think if you look at his photos, you're like, I see Wolverine. I see it. So. And he's the son of Clint Eastwood, so give me Wolverine.
That's like the kind of casting they did with Indiana Jones, where they were like, Indiana Jones was based on a lot of things, but one of the things they based him on was James Bond. Yep. So when it came time to casting his dad, they cast James Bond.
Yeah, that's it, right?
That's what that reminds me of. So that is great. I love that train of thought.
And absolutely. And if you're going to do a time jump and do Old Man Logan, get Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, man.
Right?
I mean, he's 97 or whatever, but he's still kicking.
Yeah.
And hey, that means that movie will automatically win an Oscar because Clint Eastwood's butt, the Academy's mouth. Just saying.
Oh my God! Thank God we're not working for the Academy at this point. But.
Yeah. So the X-Men that I dived into were not conventional X-Men. Not the mainstays.
Okay.
Because I was scared to touch the mainstays. You were much braver than me with your casting. So the first one I had is somebody who, it's not even really my idea. I have heard this a few times before, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So I took the character of Mr. Sinister,
of course,
who we still haven't seen. For God's sake, what have you been waiting for, Fox?
Oh my God.
And I have heard this idea tossed around many times. I can't take credit for it, but I think that I would love to see. Are you there? Picture? There you are. Wow, I'm talking to my picture. Oh. Yeah, there it is. I would love to see my boy John Hamm step into that role as Mr. Sinister.
Again, picture not needed. I know who you're talking about.
Much like Lance Reddick, he has been typecast as this very serious, stern, intense man, thanks to Mad Men. But I mean, just look at the Skip the Dishes commercials he does. Look at everything. John Hamm loves playing funny roles.
Yeah.
So again, here is a guy who, I mean, let's be real, he looks kind of goofy. This big purple guy with all this red shit coming out of his back. He could play the scary side of Sinister, and he could play the lighter side of Sinister that Marvel is so good at juggling. Mm-hmm. He has proven 6 seasons worth of proof that he can play a scary businessman who's an asshole to his employees. And that is Nathaniel Essex in a nutshell. I mean, he is a businessman first and foremost. So I think that John Hamm fits the bill like a glove.
Again, I can't think of anyone better, so I will agree with you on that. Smart choice, and I love how you use Mad Men as, again, and that's the Marvel formula, guys. In my opinion, Marvel, the way they look at their actors, they want actors who are successful, but not famous, like not big fame. Like John Hamm, I would say is famous, yes, but he's not a household famous name. Right. And Lance Reddick, same thing. Like these actors are great performers, and they are incredibly successful, but they're not these big names. Like I don't think personally, I'll be very surprised if like Marvel, and I doubt it's going to happen now because DC already has The Rock, but I don't think Marvel would ever cast someone like The Rock because of that stature that Rock commands, and those are the kind of actors they find. So, bravo to you, Sinister. I thought about Sinister as a villain, but I'm like, no. If we're gonna rebuild the X-Men, we need to rebuild a lot of the familiar ones, and that's why I was stubborn to stick with the originals that we're familiar with, because some of them have very big stories that need to be filled. So,
100%.
So that being said, I'm gonna get one of the more obvious ones out of the way, because I needed to get this character out, because we've seen her, and I think, again, comic books and cartoons, there's been some great media representation. Cartoons, I would only say in X-Men 90s cartoon, she had the best media representation, and then 2 other iterations later, X-Men Evolution and Wolverine the X-Men, she didn't get the best representation. But let's talk about Rogue, because Rogue is if you're gonna have Gambit, you need to have Rogue. That's like, I had a friend in college before Humber time, another college. She was a big Gambit and Rogue fan, like a big Gambit and Rogue fan. To a point where she very much idolized and worshipped Rogue. Rogue, if you go into her story, she stole the power of Captain Marvel.
Yes.
She stole the power of Captain Marvel, and that's what gives her the flight and the super strength. And she was one of those things where she held on too long and put Miss Marvel into a coma. which in the end, that's why down the road we get a new Miss Marvel and all that stuff. So the 90s cartoon, if you ever watch the Rogue episode where they talk about that, it's just pure comic gold. So, man, I had a really, really hard time to find me a Rogue that would hit home and yet deliver the Southern charm that Rogue has, but yet be beautiful, tough, confident, and yet one of the strongest physically X-Men out there. So I chose Alexandra Daddario as my Rogue.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, very nice. True detective. She played a very confident kind of legal attorney-like character. And also in Percy Jackson, she played, I think it was the daughter of Athena. So I think that Alexandra has the right feel for Rogue. I think that she can play that kind of Southern girl who's very naive and doesn't get how life works, and just wants the simple life. Wants to fall in love with a boy and just have a family, and yet life just doesn't give her that at all. In fact, gives her the exact opposite. Doesn't allow her to connect with people and get that, and then have Gambit chase after her for the rest of her life, kind of thing. So Alexandra, she's a beautiful, beautiful, gorgeous woman. Even in Baywatch, she plays a very tough character. So I think that she deserves a chance to play the Southern Belle, known as Rogue.
Wow, I really like that. Guess what though?
You picked Rogue too.
I picked Rogue too.
Yeah.
But I did not go with Alexandra Daddario. Here's the thing about Rogue. Okay, I followed a slightly similar path as you. I think your path in the end was more profound, because mine in the end just went with like, who do I think is Purdy? But see, the thing about Rogue for me is, in the 90s, I don't think there was ever a moment during that cartoon where I didn't have a crush on Rogue.
Right.
I mean, Rogue was just wow in that cartoon. So it just so happens that my number one Hollywood crush also is from the South. She was born in Purvis, Mississippi. So even though she doesn't have the accent normally, she is a genuine Southern belle, and she could absolutely do it. So I went with, in my opinion, probably the most beautiful woman in Hollywood. I went with Mean Girls' own Lacey Chabert.
Oh, of course. Good choice. Mad respect for you, sir. That picture too just sells it. Right? Oh my god.
It's just that, like, when I was doing the list, I'm like, Rogue, who's gonna get the Rogue? And it just, as soon as I thought of Southern Belle, the lines formed between them, and I'm like, I can't not have Lacey. And I'm just so in love with this girl since Mean Girls. So the idea of combining these two crushes that I've had for years into one person, and I know she can do Southern, it's like, sign me up. Sign me right the hell up. You know what?
No, you beat me on that one, man. Alexandra, I'm sorry. If we were casting, I'd pick her. She's so good. Just the look too. Oh my god, the look alone. The picture when it's put up, when you guys see it up here. My god. Oh my god, that is so good.
You can hear Rogue's voice when you look at that picture.
Oh my god, it screams Rogue. It's so
Y'all gotta learn how to behave.
Like, there's a video game, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and there's a line Rogue does where she lands a kiss on the character, and obviously it damages them. But she says, "Good night, sugar," and sultry, I think, is the word that I think best describes it. And nailed it. Good stuff. All right, so good call on Rogue. Love it. So I was like, okay, if we're gonna do a solid story, and now because MCU has Deadpool and thus has Cable, who is also played by good old Josh Brolin. I needed the story that one of my favorite stories from the X-Men 90s cartoon. There's a few of them, but the two that stand out the most in my mind is Days of Future Past and also Asteroid M. Those are like my two favorite episodes. Now, you can't do Days of Future Past without Bishop.
You can't.
You need Bishop. So I was like, who could I cast that I would love to see? And this is why I love that we did this. I honestly, I don't know how you're going to turn this into YouTube videos, my friend, because they're going to be long videos. You might need to break them up into parts. Or, yeah, we probably should have organized this better. But
we'll find a way. We'll
find a way. We needed a bishop. And so the bishop I chose that I would love to see and kind of have this capture the same hardcore essence that the 90s cartoon did. I needed an actor who played comic book characters before. So I went back and looked at comic book movies and I found Spawn. And I couldn't help but cast Michael J. White as Bishop. He's got the build, he's got the tone, he's done action movies, he's very familiar with them, and he's got that voice. He has the Bishop voice. And if you ever want to hear the Bishop voice, watch a movie called Blood and Bone. Even Spawn, he's Bishop. He is Bishop in Spawn.
It's funny, one of my earliest memories of the X-Men cartoon is that thing where he shows up and he's like, the name's Bishop, and he's like describing why he time traveled.
Yeah.
Dude, round of applause. Michael J. White shows up. He actually shows up in the DC Arrowverse. He plays the character Bronze Tiger.
Yes.
And when he showed up, his name in the credits at the bottom of the screen made me so flippin' happy. I was like, I'm going to see Michael J. White before this episode's over. So taking that happiness and inserting it into an X-Men movie, done. Take my money.
Take my money. Hell, if they even announce like the first X-Men movie they're doing is Days of Future Past with starring Michael J. White, I would be an investor. I'd be like, yo, I'll give you my life savings for that movie. Like, not that you need it, but I'd be happy to give it. Like, take my, as Kevin Smith once said, take my money, take my kids' money, take, like, if I had kids, I don't have kids, but if I did, take their money. But yeah, no, it's, oh man, I would love to see that.
I have one left.
Okay, we are not caught up at all.
I heard that this actor, I heard a lot of people say they would love this actor to play Craven the Hunter. And I thought, yeah, maybe, but there's no way it would be better than what you suggested, because that Craven that you suggested was spot on. But what I did, Ryan, is I took something that X-Men has been sorely lacking in film, and I grabbed this actor and I said, no, you're not Craven. And I threw some fur on him anyway, and I gave him a blonde wig, and Sir Jason Momoa is Saber Tooth. And we are finally getting a good Saber Tooth. You're welcome.
Bravo. I did not tackle Saber Tooth because I felt he's a very complicated character. Very complicated character. Who can't be killed. And Liev Schreiber did a fantastic Saber Tooth. That movie was terrible, but one thing they got right was Saber Tooth. But that is brilliant casting.
Except the costume.
Yeah, I mean the black trench coat thing is really cliche at this point. Whether here's the thing. The motorcycle look, yes, screams superheroes in some way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong. But Daredevil did it right, or even I'd say Marvel MCU got it right with Captain America and some of the later on Avengers, is the motorcycle armor, where it's not leather, it's kind of like a I can't remember what the material is called, but it's like padded armor. That to me looks more superhero-esque than just flat out leather. Like the X-Men, Bryan Singer's X-Men, too much leather, way too much. And on contrary to Cyclops, yes, I would have preferred yellow spandex because it would have given me some depth to the characters, some color, which is what Marvel's known for. Marvel is known for color. Yeah, like their characters are supposed to look like Olympians. That's what they're supposed to look like. So yes, spandex, because they're supposed to look like Olympic athletes. And now Cyclops and Bryan Singer are eating those words because now superheroes look like they're supposed to be superheroes. Anyway, yes, great choice. Sabretooth did not pick that casting. I'm surprised. All right, so I'm just going to rifle through mine. So let's just finish this off here. Beast.
All right, let's do it. Beast. Oh, my favorite X-Man. So you got a lot of pressure riding on this, sir.
I of course, you love Beast. I'm not surprised. The voice acting for Beast in the 90s cartoon great starting point for that kind of intelligence, but yet the feral kind of voice in it. Beast is actually quite a instrumental character who is, again, competing minds with Reed Richards a lot, Tony Stark, all these characters. And so I needed someone who can play a doctor, yet also have that kind of feral nature to them. And I felt Carl Urban actually was a solid choice for Dr. Hank McCoy. Only because his performance as Bones is actually pretty Hank McCoy-ish. And also, if you take his role in Priest and kind of mesh that up together, you have a great Beast. And I think that Carl Urban could do it. He even looks like Hank McCoy in the comics.
You're right. And Carl Urban is one of those guys who I like him every time I see him. Like, I've never seen a Carl Urban performance where I'm like, I don't like him in this. That is actually a great... I couldn't think of a better Beast than Kelsey Grammer. He is, like I mentioned before, a list of, I think, the best transitions from page to screen.
Yeah.
Thing is on that list, so is Kelsey Grammer's Beast. And if I can't have Kelsey Grammer, I think Carl Urban might be the next best thing. So kudos, well done.
Thank you. So I will say this, Carl Urban, though, again, Judge Dredd, great character, great choice. Kelsey Grammer's Beast was fantastic, and I will say this to your comment here. I agree with you. Probably best page-to-screen choice. Terrible movie, though. Terrible movie to have him in, and it's a real shame because he could have done some cool stuff. Even Ellen Page played a great Kitty Pryde, by the way. I think that was another great casting choice there.
Yeah, she did. She was the third Kitty Pryde we got in that trilogy, and they finally gave her some meat, and they did a good job with her.
Again, but terrible movie, though. So, okay, let's talk about Storm, because Storm is a pivotal, very critical character, not only for the X-Men being the second in command, the voice of reason, and the force of nature. So, Storm is being predicted to be in the Black Panther sequel. Storm, there's a great episode in the Wolverine and X-Men cartoon in 2009 where they kind of show her comic book origins, which is they treat her as a goddess. She brings rain to her village, and people bring her gifts, and they think she's a living god.
And she marries Black Panther in the comics.
She does. She does marry Black Panther in the comics. So there, I think there's a good story there in the sequel that you could, now that, Wakanda is being all like, hey, let's give out our technology in the world. There's this mystery where a part of Africa, the weather is unpredictable to a point where they can't predict it at all. And it's, it should be sunny and yet it's raining and all this stuff. And then they send Black Panther to investigate to find out Storm and all this stuff. So, yeah, I think there's some really cool, clever things you can build on that and have a really great story there. I could go... I would love to really kind of deep dive into the story, but I'm not the writer. He's a writer, so I'd leave more of the story writing to him. So, Storm, again, I love the show Altered Carbon, and there's a character in the first one and in the second one who the actor who plays her is an incredible character. I chose Renee Goldsberry. She, in the second season, really emulates the power of Storm and what Storm can do, and just being that kind of freedom fighter. So I love that actress. I think she'd be an incredible Storm. So MC Kevin, hope you're watching, buddy. I hope you look at us as probably what your best consultants. We'd be happy to work for minimum wage. But yeah, I think she would be great, and I think she deserves a great shot at being Storm. I did love the actress they casted for Days of Future Past, the singer version, but I think Renee can add a little more depth and ground to that character.
Yeah, I agree. The Days of Future Past actress, I'm blanking on her name, but I actually liked her more than Halle Berry. Even though we didn't get to spend a lot of time with her, I thought she was wicked. And it's tragic that we didn't get to see more of her as Storm. Renee Elise Goldsberry is a powerhouse in Hamilton, man. Every time I turn on the Hamilton soundtrack in the car, when I get to her song, I have to sit up a little straighter and prep my body and soul, because the songs that she does, that's some of the most intense vocal work in that whole show. She kills it. She absolutely kills it. So yeah, man, Renee Goldsberry, I am 1,000% down for her as Storm.
Yeah. All right. So that leads us to our finale with the two biggest characters that you need to figure out, and that is, my friend, who do you cast to fill the role of Charles Xavier and Eric Lyncher, aka Magneto?
Oh, this could go so many different ways. All right, why don't you start your lead in, and I'll think about it some more here.
Oh man, well, okay, let me set the tone.
Yeah, set the tone for me.
So, first of all, you have Patrick Stewart, who plays probably one of the most definitive page to movie actors, characters, which is
he was born to play Professor X.
He was. And he has the gentle heart and soul, yet the very powerful intellect. Absolutely incredible. And so James McAvoy does an incredible younger version. And I love how they even blended the two actors together and then, gave this beautiful journey with Charles Xavier. And then you have, on the other side of the coin, you have Magneto, who is played by Michael Fassbender, and then Sir Ian. Oh my God, why am I freezing on this? Sir Ian McKellen. There we go. Sir Ian McKellen, who both did a fantastic Magneto, and so that's really hard to cast. And I know for a fact, and it's even been proven that MCU went out and asked. Kevin Feige went out and asked Sir Patrick Stewart to return, to which he did not. He declined.
Right.
He felt he did his work. I agree. I felt he did his work, and so I don't know. I feel like you need to take your shot at predicting, my friend, because I feel like I could start talking about what this actor has done, and then have you try to guess, or you need to just guess.
This is really tricky, man. There's. I don't know if you've watched the Netflix show Dark. It's a German show, but there's a guy on Dark who I don't know if he speaks English because it's all German, the show, but he would play a fascinating Magneto.
Yeah. I've heard of the show Dark because Isabella, my fiance, who you guys kind of saw cameo in there for a little bit, she watches Dark and very confused by the story, but she's tried to explain it to me. I still haven't watched it because I have so many other shows on my list. But
is she in the room right now?
Like, no, she went out for a walk.
Okay. When she comes home, just be like, Andrew says Noah from Dark could play a good Magneto. Agree or disagree? All right. Just remember Noah's Ark, and you'll remember his name. All right. I think for Magneto, I think you went with somebody who has played a similar role. I think with X, you had to with Xavier, you had to sort of draw kind of from scratch, like somebody who could bring the role to life. But I think with Magneto, I feel like you found somebody who played a role where you were like, that role is pretty much Magneto. Am I close? Am I right?
I don't know. You're not giving me much to work with, but I will say this guy is this actor is no stranger to and that's not a clue. That's literally just a statement. Yeah. But no stranger to kind of the science fiction fantasy experience. And I'm keeping that statement as ambiguous as possible because if I leaned on one as opposed to the other, then you would have known who it is.
Oh, okay, all right. Ooh, okay. This is really left field. This is really random. This is really random. I'm gonna assume you're Magneto. I'm just trying to think. Has he been in MCU? And he hasn't, so I'm safe.
He has not.
Your Magneto is Liam Neeson.
No, it's not. Good guess, though. Good guess. And you know what? That is a good idea. I would have considered that. But the thing with Liam Neeson is he's kind of hit that social status that you know when he's going to play a role. And he would play. He would do a great Magneto. But I went with someone who's carried a saga before. And it was, I think he's played more of a trilogy than a saga. But So I went with someone who, in this saga, he played a lead role. He was a character who at first refused his calling and then embraced it. And then not only did he embrace it, he had to make very hard decisions. But both lean on that line of hero, and yet still at the same time just played this kind of anti-hero.
Oh my God. Oh, I think I know where you're going.
So, who do you think? Who do you think I chose?
Does his name rhyme with Schmerson Schmord?
No, not even
close.
Wow. No, man, you are way off the beaten trail here. Wow. All right, let's put it this way. He's shared a screen with Carl Urban before, so that's where I got this from. And this movie trilogy you're part of was probably the definitive fantasy experience. And he played a character who refused his destiny and then had to embrace it. And Magneto did the same thing. At first, he really kind of denied that he was a mutant and didn't really, didn't like the world that he was in and wanted to change it. And really, once he embraced his destiny, he embraced what he was, understood that he needed to be, thus creating Asteroid M and going into that. So the actor I chose was Viggo Mortensen. I think that Viggo has such a breadth of character that can be linear to Magneto, and that's Strider. I think in Lord of the Rings, everyone saw him as this great king, and he refused it at first. And I think Magneto has that similar kind of story structure. I could be wrong. People could, argue with me in the comics that he was kind of very comfortable with being Magneto from the get-go. But when he was a doctor and he shared his time with Xavier, he kind of just rejected the world and just didn't see it, and then kind of started growing into understanding it in his own image and growing from there, especially after the events of what happened. So I think Viggo could play a really good villain, and he does play a Russian mafia character, I think it was, or was it Polish? I can't remember. So I think he could play evil really, really well, but still trying to be good. And I think he really demonstrates that line super well. And there's a picture I have of him here, and you can see it in that document I sent you. Don't open it yet, though. If you haven't opened it now, then you'll know who I've casted for Xavier. So I felt he has the voice, the tone, the build, the look, the feel. And because of his work as Strider in Lord of the Rings, I think there's that nobility to him that he can bring to Magneto that I would love to see.
That's a great pick, man. He'd be the right age now. Mm-hmm. He'd be an older gentleman.
And I love how you even phrased it, an older gentleman, and that's Magneto. Yeah.
And he's shown us, even in that movie he did, The Road, he's shown us that he can be this character who is an inherently good person, but does what he needs to do to survive, up to and including some pretty monstrous shit. But that's the hand life dealt him, and he is going to play that hand.
So Xavier was a real hard debate. I even looked up, I cheated a little bit and looked up fan castings, but to my surprise, no one really gave me anything that I was like, I'm going to use that. No. No one gave it to me. I actually sat back and really thought about it, and I was like, who is an actor that I really love that I haven't seen him play in a Marvel film yet that I think would be good? And this guy is a chameleon. This guy is a character actor through and through, but every role he plays, you don't realize it's him right away. You kind of are like, who is this actor, man? This guy's really good. And in one movie, he went from a Rastafarian gangster to a DEA agent who does drugs, to a Louisiana sci-fi arms dealer. And every role he has played has just absolutely blown my mind. Like, I love this actor. And he even went to being a police detective in A Dark Knight, and also, so police detective in a Dark Knight series. And so I have chosen for Charles Xavier a man who I think would be probably one of the best actors, is none other than Gary Oldman himself. I think if you're gonna try to fill Patrick Stewart's shoes, or at least try to fight people's expectation of Charles Xavier with Patrick Stewart, the only man who's equipped to do it is none other than Gary Oldman himself.
Yeah, Gary Oldman, you're right. He is a chameleon. He is like the Hollywood chameleon. And that's the thing with an actor like that, is you can never say, oh, I can't see him in the role, because guess what? He's in every role. He's hiding there. He's like Waldo. And I didn't, when you were describing his line of work, I was like, why don't I know about a movie that has a Louisiana sci-fi arms dealer? And then I was like, okay. I was like, I should know this. But that's he is always good in everything. If the movie's not great, he's still going to be great in it. I think he's been bald before, so we even know that he looks good bald. He suits a bald head. Some people look weird bald. You shave their head and it just doesn't work. But him, I think he will do well. It'll definitely look better than the hair he had in The Fifth Element. I am down. I am down for this.
Yeah, and I'm down for our MCU, man. I think our additions to the MCU, I'd pay money to see that. I would. Yes,
100%. Especially if Lacey Chabert is running around as Rogue, I would pay double. And the movie theater would be like, "Sir, that only costs $12.95." I'd be like, "No. You're getting double today.
You're getting $27." I think that's how much you'd pay. I mean, there's some really golden choices in there that I think we both have really committed to. But yeah, I mean, this Thursday we'll at least get some more information of who's doing what and what. I think the big payout is that we're gonna find out who the Fantastic Four is going to be, and then we'll find out what characters may be introduced in the MCU, and they may not have casting for it yet. But I don't know, because in my opinion right now, now's the time to do... You may have stories, and you may have heroes in mind for said stories, but now's the time where you can actually audition people, because it's all just videos, right? Like, you're all just submitting videos back and forth. You don't need high production auditions or anything. You can... Kevin Feige literally has nothing but time where he can sit down, not saying he's doing nothing. In fact, I think he's doing everything right now, whether it's script building, reading scripts, approving story direction, all that stuff. But I think he does have that time to start casting heroes that he thinks that are going to play very critical roles. I think Wolverine's going to be definitely one of them. Wolverine's definitely going to be one. Fantastic Four has obviously got to be top of his list. So I think we'll definitely hear about those kind of announcements for sure.
And we'll see how right we were. We'll see how many guesses we got right. Speaking of guesses, though, I got our predictions here from earlier.
Yes, let's hear
So we predicted, in terms of how many times would we end up with the same actor, that only happened once with Mr. John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah.
Your bet was 5, my bet was 2, so neither of us got it right.
Well, okay, no, if you got 1, you were the closest because you didn't go over, so you won. Because the Price is Right rules, right?
Well, I did go over, though, because I had 2.
No. That's not how the Price is Right works, my friend. So I picked 5. You were the closest. Had it been 3, you would have been wrong because it went over your number. You picked 2.
Oh, no. It has to be if my guess goes over, then I'm wrong. And my guess did go over.
Oh.
Yeah. But for the character one, we were like, okay, how many of the same characters are we going to have? My bet was 11. Your bet was 10. The exact answer is 10.
Yes!
Well done.
I knew it.
You win an all-expenses-paid trip to Florida, where you can go join the beach party goers. Yeah, I'm sure it's totally safe there.
Yeah. I'm going to go to Disney World to go see the Marvel exhibit when that opens.
Yay! It's probably open now. Everybody's just dressed like a ninja. But I'm so glad we got to do this episode today, man. This was a ton of fun. And I'm going to have this up before Comic-Con so we can see how right we were. And everybody can be like, hey, Ryan and Andrew guessed that first, Kevin. Before you told us who was playing Ghost Rider, they told us who was playing Ghost Rider.
There you go. Boom shakes the room. Yeah, I know there's a lot of rumors. The Midnight Suns are one of the big rumors right now, where you have Punisher, Blade, Moon Knight, and Daredevil. A lot of rumors that Charlie Cox will return as Daredevil, but Charlie Cox, of course, classic Marvel line is like, I don't know what they're doing, and they haven't talked to me about it. So yeah, I would love to see that. Big rumors, obviously, Fantastic Four. It's got to be announced. I just think, like, at this point, you know you're doing a Fantastic Four movie. I think at this point you know what the story is going to be because you announced it last Comic-Con, so you've had a year to figure out your story. So at this point, you've got to have your casting done by this point. Like Shang-Chi, they had their casting figured out. Eternals, they had their casting figured out. So I wouldn't be surprised. So I personally think what we're going to see: Fantastic Four casting, Moon Knight casting, She-Hulk casting, and a couple trailers, and that's it.
I hope you're right, dude. That sounds like a great Comic-Con. But like the Marvel Cinematic Universe itself, and like Ryan's heart, this has been epic. And we are going to wrap this up. Thanks so much, dude, for doing this. This has been incredible. I can't wait to see how right we were. The answer is 100% right. And I'm looking forward to more Infinity Rewatch down the road.
Let's keep it going. All right. Till next time, guys. As Fantasia always says, it's been a
marvelous day. I don't know why I sounded like Boss Nass.
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.